basically this character who
Who gets murdered.
Yeah, he gets
in the first
murdered
episode.
in the first episode, and he was reincarnated as a slime. And I just I really love the creativity of the main character, where he's able to he's a slime. He's supposed to be the weakest monster of them all, but then he ends up becoming, yes, he ends up becoming this
OP god
character. But he cares so much about everyone.
His weird village of monsters.
Yeah, he creates a village of monsters.
And they all get named and they all become hot.
Yeah, and yeah. One of the best parts is the first characters he really meets are these goblins, and they start out especially the leader of the goblins is hobbled, decrepit old man, and then after he evolves, he becomes this buff macho man.
And they all become fan servicey except for the ones that aren't. But
the show definitely has quite a bit of fan service, I will say.
I noticed it while we watched it, and you were very you were like, is it? And you're like, oh, it is.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Bill, also known as the Barbecue Games on Instagram.
And I'm Alex, his sister, who brings only chaos.
And together we are the Gaming and Collecting Podcast, a mostly video game centered podcast.
But half the time, we just talk about anime.
And that collecting thing, well, that's mostly just an implication at best.
So come along and enjoy us on this adventure
as we discuss the games that shaped us. So, how you been?
I'm doing great. I'm holding a Tillard.
We have a guest. Good old Miss Tillard the cat.
Yee.
She's being a good girl right now, not being a little shit like she was in the Simpsons episode.
Yeah, she's my baby. I love her.
She looks really tired.
She was kind of napping when I picked her up.
Must be tough being her doing nothing all day.
It is. Oh. No, you can't escape.
What is she doing?
She's trying to burrow away. She loves me.
Alright, but anyways, so yeah, we're doing a double recording session today, so
yeah.
we just finished doing our Console Wars episode, and now we're moving on to our next topic, and...
But before that, we should talk about our funny story from yesterday.
I forgot about that. So we went out for breakfast at the Crapper Barrel.
Well, yeah, we love the Crapper Barrel. I mean, I love the Crapper Barrel, but I don't know if Bill does.
I enjoy it. It's good. When you just need some breakfast, that'll make you feel like garbage the rest of the day.
Yeah, I did. I felt like other trash all yesterday.
Because it's so good, but at the same time, you're like...
It's murders your stomach at the same time.
What is that? Your cat is being...
She wants to escape, but I don't want her to leave me. Okay, I've got her. Ooh, she's hitting me with her tail.
Yeah, but anyways.
But anyways, after we went to the Crapper Barrel, we went and got coffee.
And you spilled it all over yourself.
I spilled it all over myself. Everywhere. I got on the seat, and it was in the seat to the point, where, it was going up my shorts. So we pulled over.
Alex was the first, I have to pull over. This is bad.
Yeah. Well, it was going up my shorts. I didn't want coffee everywhere, so I was like, I need to pull over. So we pull over, and it's literally on my butt at this point. So I pull over and I don't have any tissues, but I had some extra face masks, so I'm just using that as a tissue.
So she's doing this as we're parked on we parked basically right in a parking lot on the side of a busy road. So she's out in the thing wiping her pants on the side of the road. I'm like, oh, they're all getting a show right now.
Yep. And then in the background, though,
is ABBA's Fernando.
Fernando is playing. And all I could think about is, when people, get in car accidents and the song they're listening to is still playing. And I read this Reddit thread once that this guy got in a car accident. He just happened to be listening to the Six Flags music. It was great. And I like to torture Bill with that song.
Yeah.
When I have the chance.
Yeah.
So I just decided to be our buddy.
But it was such a goofy moment. I'm like, as she's wiping down, I'm like, Alex, you realize everyone can see what you're doing, and you were you had this look of horror on your face, and then you immediately went to, I don't care.
Yeah, I didn't care at that point. I didn't want coffee all over my seat. Stella, do you have something to say?
I love that you were like, I don't have any tissues. I'm like, you're like, do we have any tissues? I'm like, no. And you're like, screw it. And you just pulled out a freaking face mask and using
Well, I kept a bunch of them in my car, but now it's like you don't really even need them anywhere. But I have them just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny, though. But anyways, so, yeah, we went from talking about video game fanboying to now what we're kind of doing. So this isn't an anime swap, but we're talking anime again.
Yes, because, this is the gaming and really, it's just anime podcast.
We're secretly an anime podcast that just moonlights as a gaming podcast, let's be real here.
Yeah.
But, so this is kind of a follow-up to, you remember we were reacting to my old top, I did my top 20 RPG list a while back?
Yep.
I really liked how that episode came out, and I figured we could kind of, do more of that. So this time we're going to be talking our top 25 animes of all time.
Yes.
We're going to start from 25. We're going to start from 25 and work our way back.
Yep.
So, do you want to start or should I start?
You can start.
Okay. So anime, we've been on an anime kick a lot lately. We've done a whole bunch of our anime swaps. We've got another anime swap halfway done. It's kind of on hold for the moment right now.
Yep.
Because of the move and stuff, but I thought it'd be interesting we talk about our favorite anime series, like top 25, and making a top 25 list is really difficult, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
The top 5 was easy, the top 5 to 10 was pretty simple, but everything after that was kind of a lot more difficult, as you could say.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say my top 5, yeah, my top 5 was really easy, and then top 10, honestly, my top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was my top 10 was easy, and then the rest were tricky, or top 15. I don't know. It was tricky.
So I knew what shows to put on. It was more just where they actually went in the order.
Yeah.
And we're not doing the whole only one series per franchise. I guess you could say we put multiples of each if we had to on there. But yeah, other than that, there was no real rules. It was literally just personal opinion.
Yep.
So I guess we'll start here. There's going to be a little bit of overlap between our lists, with entries, but none of them are really in the same place.
No. And it's very few. I think it's only 4.
4 or 5-ish.
4 or 5.
But because of that, if I happen to give an opinion on mine, if Alex has that on her list as well, she'll probably just wait till she gets to hers to talk her opinions. So going from there, let's begin. So my my 25th entry on my list was actually One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
So
that's funny.
Yeah. So One Punch Man was. So I threw this one late onto the list because I like the show, but I haven't really gone past the first season yet.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy it. I loved its whole just kind of no, not giving a shit kind of attitude it had.
Yeah.
Where it was very just kind of the whole joke was he's super OP and we go from there. And I loved its kind of dramatic cuts of humor, how it would just be all of a sudden this is the joke, this is the punchline, and it's done. Moving on. I found that very enjoyable. I liked the first season. I still gotta watch season 2. I've heard season 2 is kind of from a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I'll get to it eventually. So moving on to your number 25.
So my number 25 is Kami-sama Kiss, which is one of my few romance ones on here. My romance ones are all at the bottom. But I remember when I was super into the romance animes. I just remember this one a lot, and I really loved it because even though it was romance centric, it was also very it had good story elements. It had good character building elements, and I really liked the characters and their past, and the main character. She's basically had a really rough turn at life where her mom passed away when she was younger, and her father's kind of a deadbeat and just left her, and she was homeless, and she ends up becoming a land god at a shrine, and she ends up getting a new home, and it's really wholesome, and cute, but she also works really hard, so she's not like an unlikable character.
I
Like,
might have to check it out at some point.
no, it's cute. It's definitely
Maybe for a future swap. At some
maybe,
point.
yeah. It's definitely it's a cute little romance. I believe it only had 2 seasons of anime, but I do believe the manga continues, because it kind of didn't leave off with like an form.
Definitive ending.
Yeah, a definitive ending in the anime. Like, you didn't see the couple. Well, they got together, but it wasn't like, it was like just like they're dating, and I think there's more to it.
Gotcha. All right. So now moving on to my 24th favorite, my 24th entry. So this one is a bit of a stretch because I haven't technically finished the series yet. I'm in the process of it now. It's on one of my goals for once we finish the move. I'm gonna finally sit down and finish this.
Yep.
But it's Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah.
So Yu Yu Hakusho is one of those shows I kind of started watching with one of my friends back home.
Yep.
And I really did like it. It's very 80s.
Oh yeah.
Inherently, yeah, 90s, 80s.
Time it came out.
One of the earliest.
Animation.
The animation's really good. I love the art style. Bless you.
Sorry.
I enjoyed the art style. I really liked the whole story that was going on. Very early Funimation dub. I really enjoy the voice talent.
Yeah.
And I like where the story was going. Excuse me. I really like where the story was going.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, one of the reasons I put it on there was just because I'm so far into it and I do like what I'm seeing. Honestly, I probably should have put it at 25, but that's besides the point. So probably after I finish it, I might have to revisit this list a little.
Yeah.
Now moving on to your 25.
Now my number 25.
I mean 24. 24.
My number 24. Bill's gonna get upset.
I'm not gonna get upset by where you put certain things.
It's Inuyasha. Bill's wearing a shirt of it right now as we speak. But it's Inuyasha, which it's honestly, it's not one of the shows I go to and watch now, but it definitely was a show that like kind of like really brought me into watching anime and really enjoying it. And like it kind of verged from like I was mostly watching like the romantic comedy shows, and it was going into something that had more action and adventure elements.
It's a very violent show when you actually.
Oh yeah, it's very violent when you actually look at it. So, though this may not be like the show that I go back to all the time, like it did very much like affect like my anime choices and my anime watching, and it is a really good show. I don't go back and watch it as much, but it was a really good show, and it definitely brought anime into my watching sphere.
Started this weird obsession that we have going on. Alright, so now moving on to my 23rd entry. It is actually Kill la Kill.
Kill la Kill.
Kill la Kill.
Also a very good show.
Another great show. Another show that Alex introduced me to.
Yes.
It was actually one of the first shows we watched together after a while back. So it's an interesting one, I will say, because it's the same creators who did Gurren Lagann.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure the whole point of the show is it's like a parody of shonen anime.
Yeah.
It's very over the top, like the whole gimmick of like the clothes being like
yes,
the armor, but it's also the evil, ridiculously fan servicey at times.
Yeah.
Like it's but it's not like fan servicey in the sense of like they're trying to be fan service. It's like ironic fan service.
Yeah. Comedic fan
yeah,
service.
I love the sense of humor though. Like the supporting cast is great. Like all the characters are fun. I love the old school style animation it had going on. And I just love how freaking stupid it is.
Yeah.
Like everything in this show is really dumb. Like the MVP of the show is Ryoko's friend.
Yeah.
I forget her name right now, but her whole family.
Mako?
Mako. Her whole family are the MVPs of this show.
I love her family. It's one of the best parts about the show.
And just how freaking they're like the normal characters in this really fucking weird world that makes no sense.
I really love that show.
And moving on to your choice.
So my number 23 is Yuri on Ice. Oh my god. I remember I freaking love this show.
The figure skating.
There's so much good stuff. I know like it's funny because it's like that borderline yaoi, but like the animation and like the work and the music in it is like just so enjoyable. like, it's really, like, how they did, like, the figure skating animation is so fluent, and, like, I know they actually, like, did, like, study, like, real figure skaters, and it's just such a good watch, and it's so, like, wholesome, and, like, it's just following someone's dream to become, like, win, like, the figure skating championships, and, like, in the end, like, the character, like, he doesn't even, like, win at the end, but, like, he still, like, feels like, yeah, he did something, and, like, it's really uplifting. Like, you see this character that was so down in the dumps, like, just turn it around. And it's really great. And it's just kind of hilarious, too. It's a really good show. It would be higher, but it's lower because, like, we were promised a movie, like, 10 years ago, and I still haven't seen it, and I'm butthurt about it. So, anyways.
She was watching it at one point, and I glanced over, and it bored me to sleep, so that's all I'm going to say there.
Rude.
Alright. Not my thing.
Yep.
I like my slice of life, like romance animes, but that's just, I'm not into the sporting ones.
No. That's okay.
But anyways, now moving on to my 22nd pick. This one is mostly for nostalgia, but it's Digimon Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
The original Digimon Adventure.
Yep.
You compare it to Pokemon, and the Pokemon anime itself, while cheesy and kind of fun to look back on, isn't particularly good.
No.
Rice
Ball.
Yeah. I mean, the first season wasn't bad, but everything else is so... That show's very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, especially because the main character is eternally 10.
And he's stupid. But,
He just sucks.
Moving on, we get Digimon. And one of the things I liked about Digimon was Digimon had, like, story arcs and, like, progression. And, like, there was actually a plot that you were following. And, like, there was, like, character development arcs and, like, all sorts of stuff. Like, it was one of those shows that you actually, like, had to follow. And, like, you couldn't just watch any episode and be like, oh, what's happening here?
Yeah.
The first season, like, first series, Adventure was great. Adventure 2, like, 02 was pretty good. Some people didn't like it. I enjoyed it personally. The reason I kind of count those together is because they're connected story-wise.
Yep.
And then there was the Tri movies, like, that kind of capped it off. It was just a fun series to watch, like, super lighthearted. Tried to be serious at times. It was fun. It was one of my Saturday morning, like, earliest anime memories.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to your choice.
Is this number 22?
22.
Number 22. So my number 22 is Agretzko. And it's a Netflix original show, but all the characters kind of look like almost Hello Kitty-esque characters, and I think they're made, it's made by the same company that does the Hello Kitty, but it's basically like, the best way to summarize it is you're kind of following the point of view of this, of the main character, Retzko, who's a red panda, because they're all like little animals, and basically it's her life as an office worker in Japan. And whenever she gets, like, angry or frustrated, rather than, like, venting it out, like, by telling someone, she just goes to, like, a karaoke place and sings metal.
Good.
And, like, sings mega death metal screamo music. And that's how she gets it out. And you're kind of just following her slice of her life as an office worker, kind of the decisions she's making, like the pressure she's going on from her mother to get married and fall in love, and how she goes through dating different people. And it's a really cute show. And then it just has the funny element of, like,
It's a panda.
It's a red panda, and she screams. She does metal music when she's feeling frustrated. So it's a good show. It's a good show. It's an easy watch.
It's one of your more comedic shows you enjoy.
Yeah, it's one of my more comedic shows, and, like, it's on Netflix, and it's pretty easily accessible. So
as long as Netflix is still around.
Yeah.
We'll
I think it will still stay.
Yeah, I don't think it's going. I don't think Netflix is actually going anywhere.
Yeah.
I just think they're trying to kill themselves.
Yep.
But that's besides the point. So anything else to add there? Or?
Nah.
Okay. So now moving on to 21. So this one's might be a little bit low to some people, but I have Dragon Ball Z. The original Z, not Kai.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. So much nostalgia. Like, one of the first real animes to make the jump over here. we all remember the Ocean dub when it first came out, and then
It's over
Yep.
9,000.
And then it always replaying until Funny finally took over and finished the series out.
Yep.
The extreme action fights taking multiple episodes to finish. One of the anime classics of its era.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, it's goofy, it's stupidly long, there's not a lot of great story because the story is mostly fighting.
Yep.
I love Dragon Ball for just how cheesy and goofy it is.
Yep.
It was one of the first real instances of Funimation becoming the powerhouse they are now.
Yeah.
And we all love some stupid, some of the best fight scenes in anime.
Yeah.
As much as it's really fillerish and goofy, I greatly enjoy Dragon Ball Z. Honestly, I want to rewatch Z at some point. It's so long.
Yeah.
That's
I
why
want to watch it too at some point.
the thing is, Kai is available, and Kai is arguably probably the better way to watch it. But Original Z is just so entertaining.
It's classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the filler's pretty good.
Mm.
Not all of it, but some of it.
Some of it's okay.
But yeah, it's kind of low on my list, but it's not the only Dragon Ball property on my list. We'll get to more later.
Yeah.
But anyways, now moving on to your 21.
So my number 21 is The Disastrous Life of Psyche K, which this show is one of those shows that's like it's a 30-minute show, but it's like two shows
Segmented.
for each, two segments for
Isn't
each
it also
show.
like there's different series and they're all kind of split across different platforms?
Yeah, so there's also like there's the original, which I know I don't know if it was dubbed by Funimation, but there's also a Netflix original version, and there's a whole bunch. But I like the one that I've watched on Funimation. I believe
yeah.
Funimation, or maybe somewhere else too. I'm not sure, but I enjoyed it. It's basically it goes around this character who's like a psychic, and he just wants to be left alone.
Yeah.
But no one leaves him alone because of his psychic powers and stuff. Like it ends up, he doesn't tell anyone, but like it ends up making him like seem cool, and you get all these cast of characters throughout the show that are like either completely useless or just downright stupid, and he's just like, why the hell did I get surrounded by these people? And it's a really funny show. It's just good funny.
I remember you were watching that one day when I got home during your brief period of remote working.
Yeah.
I remember watching some of that with you. And
Yeah.
it was pretty entertaining. I like the fact that the main character is voiced by Jerry Jewell, which is very funny.
And he's just so done with life.
It's especially considering another show that I have very high opinions of that he voices a main character in. But
And it's one of those shows too that like it's similar to like Azumanga Daioh, where it's a show about really nothing.
yeah, there's no plot.
There's
it's
no
just
plot
things
line
happen.
to it. There's no story. It's just things happen, and mostly it's just the main character being pulled into things, and he just wants to go home.
Yeah, that's one I want to check out at some point. It entertained me, anyways. The few episodes I saw.
Yes.
I love characters that want nothing to do with the plot but are forced into it at all times.
Exactly.
All right, you all set with that?
Yep.
Okay, so now moving on. Now we get to my top 20 entry.
Dun, 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 dun.
Maruko-chan.
Maruko-chan. What's that one again?
So Maruko-chan is a horror comedy series.
Oh, that one.
The one with
yep,
the-
I know which one you're
The one
talking about.
it follows the girl. I believe her name's Miko in the show.
Yep.
And she's a girl who just sees nothing but dead spirits
God.
everywhere, and they are like these horrific spirits. But she's the only one that can see them, and it's like it's basically the whole show is just her hell, where she's literally like just trying to live her life, but it's these fucking demonic spirits are everywhere harassing her.
Yeah.
And she's the only one that can see them, and her whole goal is like she's trying to. They know that she can see them, but she's trying to act like she can't see them, so they just leave her alone.
Yeah.
And like the whole series is like she's trying all these things to get rid of them.
Yep.
And it's pretty funny. Like it's mostly like comedic. Like there's not really the only real horror aspect is the like actual demons, like ghosts that you see everywhere.
Yeah.
Because like the actual like show itself is very slice of life comedy, and it's kind of like, oh, what weird shit is she gonna see today?
Yeah.
Or how's she gonna like work around this? But there is actually some very heartwarming scenes too. Like there's a point where there's this like woman who's like an elderly woman who's like losing her mind, and like one of the ghosts is like her dead husband, who's trying to like he's trying to like get Miko to like find this thing that'll help like
Mm.
put her to rest, get her, well, get her like to peace, like of mind again.
Yeah.
Which Miko actually does, and then the spirit actually comes up to her and says thank you before he finally passes on, even though he's fucking like this disturbing looking old like dead man.
Yeah.
Walking around. But there's like heartwarming scenes like that. There's another scene that's later shown where it's like you see Miko's dad occasionally, but then it's like implied that he's actually a ghost who died, but he's just a friendly ghost who hangs around.
Yeah.
The family still.
Casper.
Because it's always, well, the first few episodes before it's revealed that he's actually a ghost is he never gets acknowledged by anybody in the family.
Oh.
He's just there.
Yeah.
And it's always like, it's just funny how it's a cute little show. It was funny. I enjoyed it.
Nice.
A little fan servicey at times for my taste, but I liked it for the most part.
Yeah.
So now you're moving on to your number 20.
My number 20 is Fruits Baskets.
The 2019 version.
The 2019 version. But, I mean, like, I originally watched the original series, and then I watched the new series, and I will say, it's one of those shows that where, like, I don't think you need to be a fan of anime to enjoy it. It's just a very good story, and very great character development, and it really, like, it's just a show that makes you emotional. The amount of times I cried watching this show were very many, because a lot of the scenes are just, it's a very, like, not powerful show, but it does, like, make you very emotional, and it's just a really great story, and I'd recommend it to anyone, because I've actually recommended it to a couple friends who aren't super anime fans, and they're just like, you just really wanted to make me cry today, and I was like, yep, I did. And I'm like, you haven't even gotten to the half of it. You're only on episode, like, 4.
You haven't even got to where it gets good.
I know. So, a very great show. Recommended for anyone, and just overall, I'm so glad it got the remake.
Yeah.
Because it was very well
That
deserved.
actually finished the story.
Yeah.
I'll give more of my thoughts later. Spoiler.
Yep.
Yeah, so now moving on to my number 19 choice.
Woo, we're in the tea.
Yep, we get Persona 4 the animation.
Ah.
One of my favorite game animes.
Yep.
Persona 4 the animation is just such a great like adaptation.
It
like,
is really good.
Usually like these adaptations of video games or like other media are very straightforward and like
Meh.
kind of lifeless. Persona 4 the animation is great though because it adds so many different like
Oh my god.
character moments. It actually established Yu Narakami's character as the mimetic badass that he really is.
Yeah.
There's all like the social links they kind of reworked to make sense in like a plot, like a 26 episode plot.
Yep.
They really did the character. They kept all the choice like character elements together very well too, without actually doing like any of the romance stuff to keep it like as open as possible. And they got most of the VAs from the game back to do the dub, which was amazing. Just me and Alex watched this one multiple times.
Yeah,
and it's
and I
always
would
an
still
enjoyment.
watch it again. Like, it's just so good.
It's so funny. Like it's one of like the better Sentai.
I
dubs.
just love that they gave us the main character of the game, who's like basically like your personification in the game, and they gave him like a personality.
And it's a really well done personality
Yeah.
that's really continued on.
Yeah.
And it's such a different take, and I love the interactions of the characters. It's super fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, now moving on to your choice.
My number 19 is Oron High School Host Club.
You've mentioned this one a lot in the past.
It's this anime was, I think, one of Funimation's like very big like Kickstarter ones into like really bringing them into the anime sphere.
Beyond just being
like
shonen.
Yeah, and this show it's kind of a reverse harem, but you kind of it falls into the main like pair, like the main couple. They fall into steps very easily. But basically the main storyline is this girl goes to this elite rich high school, and she's there on a scholarship. She goes in, she gets gum in her hair, so she has to cut her hair. She can't afford contacts, so she has glasses. So she goes to school, and they all think she's a boy. And then she ends up going to this host club where she ends up breaking a very valuable vase, and she's on a scholarship, so she don't have the money of this school, and she needs to pay it back. And eventually it leads to her becoming a member of the host club. And at first they don't realize she's a boy. She's a girl, until they realize after having, like, I think, like, something got spilt on her, and she has to change it to a girl's uniform, she's like, I'm a girl. And so the basic plot is, like, she's now in the host club trying to pay them back, but she's also, like, a girl, and they all need to, and some of them are like, you need to act like a girl, and she's like, I don't want to. I want to do whatever I want. And it's really, it's a really enjoyable show. There's a lot of great character development, and you really love the main cast of characters, the host club members.
How long is it?
It is, I think it's about 20-something episodes.
So it's like a 26er?
I believe, yeah. I know it's like, I believe it's like a 26er. And the only thing is that it never did get, the manga goes on from the show. It never did get a full-on ending for the anime, and fans to this day are still butthurt that it never got another season.
Yep.
But I think I remember hearing at one point there was another season in the works, but I don't know if that was true or just fans being really, really being overexcited about something. But it's a great show. I definitely want to read the manga again someday, and definitely one of those first shows that really got me into anime.
Yep. Okay. So now moving on to my 18th pick, we're gonna I can't talk. We're gonna go with Full Metal Panic. So Full Metal Panic is a really interesting one to me.
Yep.
Because I had seen this show all over the place, like, back in the day, but I never had a chance to really watch it because it was an ADV dub, and ADV dubs weren't as common on TV as, like, the funny stuff.
Yeah.
So Full Metal Panic's interesting because it's kind of like it is a very oddly toned show.
Yeah.
Because it is a mech anime, but it is also a high school slice of life comedy romance.
Yeah.
And it has a very odd kind of like pacing thing. This is actually one of the reasons why Alex couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it though because I really like the characters.
Yeah.
The whole gimmick is it's the main character is a spy, like, for this agency, and that he's meant to be like a bodyguard of sorts for the main character of Kaname, the female lead Kaname. And he at first is trying to be undercover, and she thinks he's a fucking creep.
Yep.
Because he's very serious to the job. But then it transitions to she gets kidnapped by freaking terrorists at one point, and then he has to use his giant mech walker, and there's a whole bunch of weird plots. But then the next episode cuts, and it's a freaking high school romance plot, slice of life thing.
Yeah.
That goes on. It's like, what? And it's very amusing. Like, I love the voice actors because it was like one of the first real introductions of Chris Padden was like the main character, and then I'm forgetting her name. It's not the voice actress for Nami. Is Kaname.
Yep.
I'm forgetting her name right now. But
Isn't it Lucy or something?
Lucy Christensen.
Yeah.
It was one of their first real roles, and like they're such iconic voices.
Yeah.
And I love the performances. It's funny because the first season is very all over the place. The second season is just a straight up fucking slice of life comedy. Like, all the freaking mech stuff is gone, and it's just all fucking comedy.
Yeah.
And then the third season, they completely drop the comedy and go straight to like mech action.
Yeah.
And I think the fourth season is also like that. But it's just such a weird like shift in dynamics. Yeah. I enjoy it though. I like the comedy. It's another show that's a bit fan servicey for my tastes, but that's kind of anime. You just kind of have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it. I know Alex had tried it, but it just wasn't for her.
Yeah.
And now moving on to your choice.
My next choice is Princess Tutu, which this is a very much older anime. It came out.
I can tell by that image right there.
Yeah, it's definitely older, and it's just one of those shows that it's kind of based off ballet, and for me, like, dance has been a huge part of my life, so I really liked it for that. But it has wonderful music. It has wonderful story. And it is a tragedy. Like, it doesn't end, like, the main character doesn't get a happy. I mean, she's happy, but, like, she doesn't get her happy ending in the end.
Gotcha.
So it is, like, one of those shows that, like, it's emotional, but it's basically centered around the main character, who's actually a duck. And she becomes, like, a human girl. So she can go to school and learn how to dance. But she can also become Princess Tutu. And Princess Tutu has to save the prince in the story who has lost his heart. And she needs to help him find his heart. And there's some other characters that want to don't want him to find his heart. And it kind of at the beginning really leads you to think that her and the prince are the main love care interest, but then it completely 180 turns it around and it changes. But I don't want to spoil it because it's a very good show.
I will say that we'll drop a spoiler warning just for future because we're gonna mention things in the future.
Oh yeah, but it's a good show, and I remember I watched it. I don't know if there was a dub for it. I don't know, but I really loved that show. It was wonderful, and it was a show. Even though it wasn't necessarily the happiest ending, like it was still very, like I was satisfied with the ending as well. So it was a very good show.
Okay.
Definitely recommend.
Well, moving on now to my 17th choice.
Yep.
So this is the only other game anime I have on my list, but it is Ace Attorney. I really like the Ace Attorney anime.
Yeah.
Now I know the Japanese version, like the sub, initially wasn't super well received when it was first released.
Yep.
And a lot of people kind of wrote it off at the time. But the dub was phenomenal because they kept all the in-jokes from the American localizations.
Yep.
It is basically it's a retelling of the first 3 games in the series. Ace Attorney, Justice for All, and Trials and Tribulations.
Yep.
And it basically follows the plot. It adds a whole bunch of background stuff. Like it gives more detail into like Phoenix and like Miles and Larry's like relationship growing up.
Yeah.
You get some more like Mia and Maya backstory.
Yeah.
The characterizations are so spot on. Like all the character performances are great. Like Chris Vale, right? Is that his name?
I don't know.
Oh no, Eric Vale. Eric Vale. Yeah.
You're asking the wrong person.
the voice actor for Phoenix is Eric Vale, who's also like Trunks, and he does a great job. All the characters did great. Great Maya performance. Super fun. Like it was really nostalgic revisiting those games from like an animated like perspective. And I just love how goofy it is. Like the humor is spot on.
Yeah. All right. My number 17 is the classic original animation for Sailor Moon. This had to be on my list. It was the very first anime I ever watched. And I loved it. I still love it to this day. I'll go back and rewatch it. Like it is just it's a great show. It has its moments.
The dub is very funny.
The dub is very funny, and there's definitely a lot of it was filler, and a lot of it isn't true to the manga.
Nope.
But it's just such a great show, and I just loved it, and I'll always love it.
Definitely the first magical girl anime you ever saw.
Oh yeah, the first magical girl anime, and I watched several other magical girls. They're not on this list because this one was the best one, but definitely a huge influence for me, and I love this show. I dressed up as her for Halloween once, and it's so embarrassing, but it's fine. It's fine. I was cosplaying before it was cool.
An early cosplayer.
Oh shoot, I dropped something. But that's it for that.
Yep. And now moving on to my 16th entry, I have Hayuka.
Hayuka.
Now Hayuka is based off of a novel of the same name. Hayuka is interesting to me because it is a slice of life mystery show. Mm-hmm. And the whole gimmick revolves around the main character. I forget his name right now. Like they're Japanese names, but I don't want to butcher it. But his whole gimmick is he is an incredibly lazy, like doesn't want, like he just wants to be left alone. He's kind of like Saki K in a way.
Yeah, he just wants to be.
He just wants to be left alone, and he basically gets forced to join the literature club, I think it is, or
sort of
mystery club, some sort of thing. And when he enters the club, he is immediately, the first thing he sees is a girl in the club named Eru Chidanda, who is the main female protagonist of the show. And immediately he questions, how did she get in here if I have the only key?
Yeah. And
it kicks off the plot of basically every episode is, here is something happens, and now Eru, her whole gimmick is she's very curious about everything, and she has to know.
Yep.
So that immediately they have to solve the mystery of how this happened.
Yep.
And each episode kind of is like this whole deductive reasoning of like you have to try and figure out what happened. And it gets really funny because like every time like Eru shows up, the main character, I'm brain farting his name right now.
It's fine.
But he ends up having this like like weird like mind trip because he's like infatuated with her.
Yeah.
Because she is just like this like very peculiar character. And he has like these weird like fantasies and like things of her which don't actually happen.
Yeah.
But it has a great like sense of humor too. Like there's an episode where like she gets these like alcoholic chocolates.
Yep.
And she doesn't realize they're alcoholic, and everyone has one. And it's like, whoa, no, like don't eat those. But Eru eats the entire box.
Oh boy.
And then is asleep the rest of the episode.
Yep.
The novels have continued on like farther on than the anime did. So it's still technically going, but the anime itself is pretty fun. It's a quick, like, 26 episodes.
Nice.
Pretty entertaining. A lot of, like, well-known, like, VAs, too, for funny at the time.
Yep.
But, yeah, so now what is your 16th?
So my number 16 is Carol and Tuesday.
You've mentioned this one quite a few times.
I have. I've mentioned this one quite a bit. It's a good show. It's another Netflix, well, I don't know if it's a Netflix original, but I know it's on Netflix.
It's a Netflix dub, anyways.
Yeah. And it's a wonderful, wholesome show where it's basically you're following these two girls that want to follow their dream of becoming, like, singers. And they kind of form a duo called Carol and Tuesday, which is their name, Carol Tuesday. Carol is kind of this girl who, like, has grown up in unfortunate circumstances where she was kind of an orphan and she had a rough life. And Tuesday was this girl who grew up and her mom was like a governess and she grew up very pampered, but she wants to be free. Like, she doesn't want to be her mom's daughter. She wants to be Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So they meet through like their love of music and they start creating music together, and it basically follows their career as they start out like just singing in little bars and stuff and going up to becoming famous singers. And it's wonderfully wholesome. The music is wonderful. It's
You've
all
said
on
that in the
Spotify. It's very well made, and just very great show. I'd recommend it to anyone. It's just, if you want something relaxing to watch, it's a great watch. Definitely recommend.
All right. But anyways, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Woo.
And we're back.
We're back.
So moving on now to my top number 15 choice, it is actually Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah! Which we're watching right now.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, I really enjoyed Super going into it.
Me
like,
too.
After watching Battle of Gods, and especially after the overly action-heavy Z and whatever GT was supposed to be, Super was a very nice, refreshing, kind of like a good mix between action and comedy. Fun storytelling. I like them all older now, and like I like the new challenges. Like Beerus was a great addition to the cast.
Yes.
Like everything about Super is really fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hope they do another anime that continues on with where the manga's been going, because it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
And we're finally actually getting places. I'm really looking forward to Superhero.
Nice.
But anyways, moving on.
My number 15 is My Hero Academia.
Another one you've mentioned many times. We did a swap on it.
We did. So this show is definitely, I really like this show. I have problems with it. There's definitely, it's not the greatest show out there, but it's definitely a good show too.
It's
and
definitely
I like
the current shonen
it's
of
the
era.
current, yeah, it definitely is that current shonen of the era. But I know it has flaws. It's not perfect. Especially like, I loved the first season. I love the second season. Third season, meh. And then the fourth season, meh. Like, especially the fourth season was very meh. Like, but I know it's building up to an important arc in the manga. And it's kind of similar to another show I'm going to talk about on this list, which I have higher. But I definitely like this show. I know it has problems, but it's
very inspired by American comics.
Yeah, it's definitely inspired by American comics, and it's definitely a really good show. I think the fandom is very toxic, but it's definitely a really good show.
Every fandom's pretty toxic.
Yeah.
All right. So now moving on to my 14th choice. This one might be controversial, maybe not, for where it is, but Cowboy Bebop. One of probably the definitive animes of this of our generation. It's such a good show. It's so hard to describe it to people because it's literally space cowboys in a sense. Um, I love the characters. Like all the characters are great. One of the greatest dubs of all time. Like probably the definitive dub.
Yeah.
Like that all dubs should strive to be.
Yeah.
Like Steve Bloom as Spike Spiegel. I love the story. Like it's super quick too. Only 26 episodes.
Yeah.
Do you like freeform jazz, Alex?
Heck yeah. Who doesn't?
So many fun things. Honestly, it's one of those ones I really want to rewatch at some point. Not the Netflix show.
No,
that was
the traditional anime.
It wasn't that bad, but I'm just saying,
yeah,
it wasn't good either. But anyways, now moving on.
Yeah. So my next number 14, right?
Yep.
14 is Jujutsu Kaisen.
Another one you've mentioned many times.
Yeah, it's definitely. Honestly, like this one may move up higher to me, but right now there's only one season out, and I know season 2 is coming eventually. But I will say, like, I really enjoyed this show. It definitely this show is definitely one of those shows that where it surprises you, where you're not expecting things to happen.
So what is it genre wise? It's like a.
Well, I'd say it's definitely shonen, but it's basically centered around this main character named Yuji, Itadori, and he basically kind of falls into this world of sorcerers and they're not demons, they're not, I'm brain farting right now. It's not demons, it's like more like ghosts and apparitions, and basically a lot of these ones are created based off of like people's fears. So that's where a lot of these come from. And basically the Jujutsu sorcerers are trying to exorcise these spirits. And basically what kind of happens is that Yuji falls into this world where he eats curses. It's curses. That's what it is. Yuji falls into this world of curses where he actually accidentally eats a cursed object, which is one of the greatest curses of all time, called Sukuna. It's Ryumin Sukuna, and basically, like, because of that, he is now the vessel for that curse. And in the Jujutsu sorcerer world, they originally wanted to just put him to death. To kill him so they can kind of kill that piece of Sukuna. But one of the sorcerer teachers, Gojo, was like, no, he's very influential and he's basically the strongest guy in the series. Was like, no, let's have him eat all the fingers and control the vessel. So basically the main story right now is that you're basically following Yuji, who is continually finding the fingers, eating them, and hoping that he can control Sukuna within him. And so far he's been able to do it just fine. But the story keeps going on and more characters are introduced, and it's a very entertaining show. This may move up higher for me, depending on how the next seasons go, but I definitely really enjoyed it. Very good show. And the animation is awesome. And it has one of the best outro themes ever. Lost in Paradise is just so good, and I just jam out to it all the time.
Alright, so now moving on to my 13th pick, Spy Family. A pretty new one on this list so far. So Spy Family is relatively new to the scene. It's only got one season right now. That season 2's already been confirmed in the making, though.
Yeah.
It's very wholesome for the time, and very action, also comedic. It basically revolves around a spy named Lloyd Forger.
Yep.
And he's on a mission to I forget what his mission is. He's got to infiltrate, he's got to get information from this from a someone that I think the government's after or something.
Yeah.
I forget the exacts, but he needs to get close to this person. He has to get into the school where his son, I believe, is attending.
Yep.
So to get into the school, he has to start a fake family in a sense, and get his child into the school. So he adopts a girl named Anya that he finds at the adoption center.
Yep.
And then he ends up, through happenstance, meets Yor, who is actually an assassin.
Ah.
And they end up basically they have a marriage of convenience because it works for Yor because she has people on her back about being single.
Yep.
And Lloyd needs a family unit for his mission. And the whole plot basically goes on as he's trying to get Anya through into the academy, and Anya's not the brightest bulb out there, even though she's actually a psychic. Like, she's not actually a human. She's like this like psychic creature thing.
Oh.
But I think she's like a whisper or something, some weird name. But the whole gimmick is like they're basically trying to work as a family, and they all are slowly becoming more and more attached to each other as the thing goes, to the point where they legitimately care. It's just funny like how many different ways like Lloyd will like have planned out to get through things, and it's always funny where like Anya gets into the school, but then she's not really smart enough for what they think she's in, and she's a lot of like her answers she gets by just reading people's minds and stuff. It's really funny though, and it's super wholesome, and I'm enjoying it so far. I want to read the manga too because I've heard the manga is even better.
I can't wait to watch that one.
It might get higher in the future.
My next one is Assassination
Ass Class.
Classroom, otherwise known as Ass Class by many. This show is like, it's a couple years old now, but it was a very good show. The main cast of characters, you really feel for them. I feel like it kind of reminds me of elements of another show I'm gonna talk about, where like these characters are beat down and they're just like there's no hope. Like they've lost their hope. And their hope ends up being this teacher that is this abomination creature that's going to destroy the world. And they have to murder him. But they end up really falling in love with this teacher because he gives them hope and he gives them, like, a chance to succeed. And it's a really great show. I cried the last episode. It was so freaking sad. And you just really love the characters. It's a really great show. I definitely recommend to anyone. Kuro Sensei is hilarious. You get some great memes out of it. And all the teachers are really good.
I like what I've seen of it. It's on my bucket list. I just haven't had time to sit down and watch it.
I definitely recommend you watch it. It's very good.
Okay. Now, moving on, we get to my 12th entry, and it is Naruto Shippuden.
Yeah.
So, Naruto Shippuden is a series I get into mostly because my best friend loves the show.
Yep.
And I really wanted to know what he was talking about at the time. So I decided to sit down and watch it, and I was, holy shit, 500 episodes, and half of them are filler and pointless to watch. But I sat through it, I got through all the arcs and stuff, and you know what? I get Naruto gets a lot of shit from a lot of like anime purists and stuff.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy the story. Like, the story and lore are really fun. I like the characters. A lot of fun shit, in all honesty. Really great show. One of my favorite anime films of all time, The Last, came from Shippuden. It's basically the conclusion of Shippuden in a lot of ways. The series is going on still with Baruto. Baruto's very hit or miss at the moment.
Yep.
But I do enjoy it. It's great action. A lot of magic eyeballs and stuff.
Yeah.
And anyways, moving on.
Alright, so my number... What number is this?
12.
My number 12 is That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime.
Something we've more on that later. Actually,
Yes.
yeah, more on that later.
Yeah. I really love this show. I think it's really good. I love the story of it, where it's basically this character who
gets murdered.
Yeah, he gets
in the first
murdered
episode.
in the first episode, and he was reincarnated as a slime. And I really love the creativity of the main character, where he's able to, he's a slime. Like, he's supposed to be the weakest monster of them all, but then he ends up becoming... Yes. He ends up becoming this
OP god
character, but he cares so much about everyone, too.
His weird village of monsters.
Yeah, he creates a village of monsters.
And they all get named and they all become hot.
Yeah, and then, one of the best parts is if the first characters he really meets are these goblins, and they start out especially the leader of the goblins is this hobbled, decrepit old man, and then after he evolves, he becomes this buff macho man.
And they all become fan servicey, except for the ones that aren't. But
the show definitely has quite a bit of fan service, I will say.
I noticed it while we watched it, and you were very you were like, "Is it?" And then you're like, "Oh, it is."
Yeah, I didn't really noticed it at first until Bill pointed it out. But I really enjoy this show. I like the
I've just
story.
seen so many shows with fan service lately that I see it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
They're not even hiding it.
I definitely enjoy the story, and I enjoy the characters, and it's a really good show. Definitely recommend.
Very gamey. I love how like the actual like computer system is like one of the characters.
Yeah. Great Sage.
Great Sage, yeah.
Yep.
Fun though. Reamer is an interesting character.
Yeah.
I will say. I love how OP he is for no reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's just a slime that got really creative. And lucky. A little bit of luck, too. But creative.
He started out really unlucky, so.
Yeah. Well.
And his friend, delete my hard
drive. Delete my hard drive. And he jumps in the tub.
Yeah. But anyways, now moving on, we get to number 11. So for me, this is very much in the same vein as Sailor Moon for Alex. Mine is Ronin Warriors. Because fun fact, Ronin Warriors was always on right after Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
So she'd watch her Sailor Moon, and then I'd watch Ronin Warriors, and it was basically Power Rangers in a lot of ways. It was these guys that turned it into I think the actual name of the show is Samurai Troopers, but it was Americanized to Ronin Warriors.
Yeah.
It's like that. They have the power. They turn into these like samurai guys, and it's like they fight different monsters of the week. Very shonen-esque. It's very much like Sailor Moon in a lot of. It's like male Sailor Moon in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's the guy's version of Sailor Moon.
But for the time, it had a really solid dub. Weirdly enough, it's an Amazon Prime show now. But
why not?
That's where you can find it for free.
Yeah.
Well, that's the streaming service
that's on.
With the Prime
subscription. Yeah.
But it's pretty fun. The dub's held up very well for a very old like Sailor Moon era dub. And the show's got a fun story. I always remember watching it. I remember seeing the ending multiple times because they always showed the ending on Toonami all the time for no reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed Toonami back in the day. It was fun.
Yep.
But yeah, that one's mostly a nostalgia pick for me. But damn, do I still kind of like the show.
Yeah.
That's why Sailor Moon's in there for you.
Yeah.
And moving on.
And my number 11 is Parasite the Maxim. This show, I love this show. It is so well done. And what's really cool about the show too is that it kind of brought upon this era of like taking really old mangas and bringing them to life in anime. Yeah,
one of Sentai's more well-known dubs.
Yeah, and Parasite it's this very old manga, and they brought it to life, and it's basically centered around this main character who gets attacked by this parasite. But the parasites are supposed to like basically kill the brain, but he doesn't get to his brain. So he still has control of his body, but there's now this parasite that's also a part of his body.
And that famous image of it in his hand.
Yeah.
Like it's like still I think it's like one of the most like iconic like images of like a horror, like body horror.
Yeah. And it's a very violent show. Very graphic.
I watched a couple episodes with you that one time, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Lots of gore, and you didn't even see the half of it.
I know. I saw what happened to his mother. That was all I needed to know.
It's very emotional, and it's also like the character ends up kind of going through a transformation because at one point especially the scene with his mother, she basically almost kills him. But Migi, the virus, the parasite that's attached to him, saves his life. But with that, he kind of loses some of his humanity because now Migi is a much bigger part of him, and that's where he kind of ends up changing a bit. And it really affects his relationships with like his girlfriend and his friends and his whole life. And it's a very good show. I definitely recommend it. If you're not a gore person though, maybe stay away from it because it is very bloody and it is a lot of body horror. Definitely don't watch it before bed, but
with the kiddos.
Really good show, really great story, and I just
one of the best Sentai dubs.
Yeah,
like one of Sentai's biggest breakthrough dubs.
Yeah,
really.
And I just love that it really brought because one of your shows that was an older manga, maybe it isn't, but it did bring a lot of shows that had older mangas and brought them back to life.
I will say though that what's funny is the main character is voiced by Adam Gibbs, who's also the main character of Ayuka.
Yeah,
which is really funny.
Fun.
and another show I'll get to later. But anyways, now moving on, we're getting to the top 10 now.
Top 10!
So this one may be controversial, maybe not. My number 10, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
I don't think it's controversial.
I don't know, that fan base is a little psycho.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think that fan base is super, but I think where you have it is a very fair placement for your... Because we all have different types of shows that we like, you know? And
Yeah.
I think your top 5 really represent your favorite kind of shows right now. So, I don't... If they get mad, don't care.
I just always laugh. So, yeah, Full Metal Alchemist is... I mean, everyone knows it's one of the most acclaimed animes of all time.
Yeah.
We talked about it in the past. Like, I gave a very basic plot summary on one of our anime episodes we did back in the day.
Yep.
But fun story, great conclusion. Like, so this is the second Full Metal show. Like, the first one was, it started out as an adaptation of the manga and then went off the rails real fast.
Yep.
After they ran out of source material. This one was a true to text like recreation of the manga itself, and it's in a lot of ways the original show was good, but this one is the definitive show.
Yeah.
Great dub, like one of the best dubs, like one of Funimation's best dubs. Fun story, like it. Once you start, like I remember watching and I was like, wow, this is really good. Episode 3 is great, and then my friend was like, yeah, episode 4 is where shit fucking hits the fan, and I was like,
I think I told you that too.
yeah, you did too. You were like, wait till you get to episode 4. I'm like, why does everyone keep saying this? So I watch episode 4. I'm like, it's not that bad. What are they talking about? And then I got to the end and I was like, holy shit. But yeah, that show, great. Like, once you start watching it, you can't stop. That's the thing.
And just wait for episode 4, you guys.
Yeah, and you get hooked and you want to finish it. It's like 60 something episodes, so it's kind of long.
Yeah.
But it's worth the watch. Like great great conclusion. Like perfect way to end. But anyways, now moving on to your number 10.
My number 10 is Dragon Ball Super. So this one was kind of like not my first introduction to the series, but this is the first time I got hooked on the series. And I freaking love the Super. Like, we're watching it now again, and I still freaking love it. Like, I love Beerus, I love Whis, I don't know, I love
honestly,
this
it's
show.
it's one of the better Gokus too. Because I mean, obviously GT Goku was terrible.
Yeah.
Z, he had his moments of being like, really, dude.
Yeah. I really love this series. Like, it's a great, I think you kind of said it earlier, where it's a great balance of, like, the fighting but the comedy. So it really balances it out. Like, after a big fight scene, like, we just watched, like, Beerus and Goku's fight scene, which was a couple episodes. And then it turns into, like, this kind of comedic part.
I forgot my tractor.
And I loved it. I love the Tournament of Power. I love
the baseball, the filler baseball episode.
I love the multiple universes. It's definitely, I loved it. I thought it was really great. And I'm so excited for Dragon Ball Superhero now.
Superhero.
Super.
The Brawling movie was great.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
But anyways, now moving on to my number 9.
Number 9.
So number 9 is one that we watched recently, Azumanga Daioh.
Yeah.
What's the show about? Nothing. Get it together. Get it together.
And we've been quoting the show. I will say,
it's such a quotable show.
It really is a good quotable show.
Like, it's one of like the best like slice of life like comedy mangas animes out there.
And I won't lie to you, like, this was actually, it was really close to getting on my list. It was very close.
It was one of those shows that I told you you'd like once you saw it, just because of how it's such a stupid show, but it's so fucking great.
And honestly, I kind of think I like it more after, like, quoting it and, like, thinking about it. Like, it's a really good show. It was very
There's
close
so many
to getting on my
scenes,
list.
too, like, that you just remember, like, please slow down, Miss Yukari. Please slow down. Or the cat, which is actually voiced by Beerus, Jason Douglas.
Yep.
Great. I love that show so much. And I just got the manga, which I'm looking forward to reading at some point.
Yeah.
And it was moving on to your 9th choice.
My number 9 is The Rising of the Shield Hero.
Oh, another show we recently watched.
I love this show. I love the characters. Like, you love Raftalia, Philo, and the Shield Hero. You love them all. Naofumi. I was praying his name. You love them all.
But you hate everyone else.
Oh, but you hate everyone. You hate the other heroes. You hate the the king and the
Bitch.
princess, bitch and whore, and what was his name? What was his new name?
Oh, Trash.
Trash. Yeah, it's a really good show. I'm excited to watch season 2. I've heard mixed reviews, but I'm going in with an open mind because a lot of the times, like other shows that I watch, where they were like, season 2 is not that great. I felt differently. So I am super excited to watch that. But I love this show, love the characters, love the story. It's really great.
Alright, now moving on to my number 8. Kaguya-sama Love is War.
I recommended this one to Bill.
Yes, she did. This show is another... it's very similar to Azumanga Daioh if it was more of a romance show. It's literally the whole concept of the show is there's two characters. They're in charge of the school council, is it? Or,
Yep.
Student government. And they're both infatuated with each other.
But they won't admit it.
They're too proud to admit it. And the whole goal is they want to get each other to, like, be the one who gives first. So each episode is split into 2. Like, it's kind of segmented like that.
Mm-hmm.
And each episode basically is, like, they each run into, like, a goal where it's like, I'm going to get him to confess first.
Yep.
And, like, each one ends with, like, Kaguya 1, or whatever the main character's name
Yep.
is, 0, or main character 0, Kaguya
Yeah.
0, or something.
Yeah.
Stupid things. And
Sometimes neither of them win, which is funny.
sometimes Chica's the winner.
Yes.
Just because Chica
Oh, Chica.
she's
the best character.
she's basically the third main character.
Shit, we love Chica.
Well, her whole... she's more...
She won you over with her one-time outro dance that you wish they did again.
That or her beating the shit out of blue hair guy. I forget his name.
Yeah.
Just ran. She's great. Like and her entire point is basically to be like the voice of reason, or like the normal person stuck in the middle of Kaguya's bullshit.
Yeah.
I love that show. Like, the humor is great. Like, the characters are all funny. It's not really fan servicey. It's not... The romance is more of a subplot than anything.
It's
And
really good.
I've heard this... I'm only through season 1 so far, but I'm looking forward to continuing on to the next 2 seasons. And I heard there's a movie coming next.
So good things to look forward to.
And I started collecting the manga, so I'm looking forward to reading that.
Yeah.
Now, moving on.
So my number 18, I think this is a show that should get more credit for how good it is, but it's Death Parade.
You've mentioned this one multiple times.
Death Parade, I believe it was just a 12-episoder.
It's short.
It's short, but it is so good. It's a very psychological show, and it basically it kind of takes the matter of life and death and, like, going to heaven versus hell, and it kind of takes that but turns it into, like, what happens when you die with someone else, and where do you end up going? Are you going to go to heaven? Are you going to go to hell? And a lot of the times the characters who end up going into this world, it, like, ends up going into this bar, and the characters don't know what exactly is going to happen to them. Like, they just think they're playing a game. They somehow ended up on a game show. And then as they're doing it, they're kind of realizing, like, this isn't a game. Like, this is, like, I died. And it kind of has them passing on. It's very psychological, very, not horror, but very thought-provoking. And it's a really interesting take on, like, what happens when you die. Like, how do you decide where you end up going? The choices you make, and the very first episode is very, like, it kind of leaves you feeling like, was that the right choice? And it leads to, like, one of the main characters and, like, her, basically, like, her choices and her very more humanity, but, because she's not necessarily one of the people who works there. And you find that out throughout the show, but it's definitely very interesting show, and I think it deserves a lot better than the credit that it got because it's a short show. And I definitely recommend to anyone who just wants to watch a 12-episoder that's very, like, deep and psychological. Very good show.
It's on my list. I have the Blu-ray set. It's just one of those ones that it's like I have to just sit down and watch it.
I definitely recommend. Very good show.
But anyways, now moving on to my 7th choice. It's actually Rising of the Shield Hero.
I, like, love that. He really loved that show a lot.
So when we did the anime swap for it, it was one of those cases where it was like we'd watch the episodes and I'd be like, fuck, I want to watch more.
Yeah.
So we'd come home and we'd continue on until we got through it. It was like, I was amazed how much it hooks you in.
Yeah.
And it makes you really fucking hate
Hate
every character.
Yeah.
Except for, besides like Naofumi, Raftalia, Philo, and their band of like random people who are actually smart.
Like the blacksmith.
The blacksmith, the sketchy slave trader.
Slave trader.
The random knights that join them at different
witch.
points.
The witch who helps them.
I love the game aspect too, where it's funny. We've had a couple shows here that are essentially games.
Yeah.
Like the whole MMO genre, I guess you could say. Because Slime and this are very similar in that aspect, but I feel like Slime somehow comes off as more of a game, but doesn't have a lot of super gamey aspects. Meanwhile, Rising of the Shield Hero feels more like an actual world and story, but it has all these like gaming elements.
Well, and I think a lot of that has to lead into the main character, because in the beginning, he's the only one who hasn't played the game. He read a novel.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of leads into that, where like in his point of view, he didn't play the game. He read a book.
He was also a normal human being too.
Yeah.
And he literally gets thrown in this world and gets treated like fucking
a normal,
garbage.
really good guy. Yeah.
And it's amazing how fast like being in that kind of setting will destroy it will destroy a human. Like how negative it's like imagine if he hadn't found Raftalia.
Yeah. I know.
Where he would have ended up. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to season 2. Waiting for it to be finished dubbing.
Yep.
I know the fan base is whining about it, but that's usually a sign. Whenever I see a fan base whine about something, that's usually a sign to me that I'll enjoy it. So. Yeah. But moving on now to your number 7.
My number 7 is One Punch Man.
Oh, another crossover.
Another crossover. I love this show, and I read some of the manga for it too. Season 1 it's a masterpiece in my mind. Like, that is just it's a bomb.com show. It is so good. And I just love everything about it, because like it's a parody. Like, it's just basically making fun of like OP characters, and like this one is like he's OP and he doesn't even want to be OP. He's like annoyed by the fact that like he punches things one time and like the fight's over. And even in the end, like the final boss of season 1, like he ends up fighting them, and like the guy then who ends up fighting is like, you could have beaten me from the very beginning. You were just having fun. And like,
it's like how he's not the his ranking is super low because he just doesn't care.
Yeah, well, his ranking's super low because like he didn't have like the smarts. Like, he doesn't have the heroic like ideals. He's just there to have a good time.
Saitama's literally just he got super strong because of why not?
Yeah.
And then he's like, whatever.
Yeah, now he's just like, he's basically just trying to find someone that he can't beat in one punch. But it's really good. Love the cast of characters. Love Genos. Love Moomin Rider. He is the very best wholesome character where he doesn't have any special ability. He's just got on his bike and he's just doing his best that he can.
I will admit I preferred the show kind of earlier on when it was more just stupid and like there was no plot. When it got super busy with the plot, that's kind of where I got a little lost.
Yeah, I'd say season 2 it's more plot heavy because it's going on into like it's leading into a big fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like didn't like season 2 as much, because it's kind of, I compare it a lot to My Hero Academia, the most recent season, I think 4. I compare it a lot to that because really what's happening
it's mostly build
up
planning
to a bigger fight. And I think once people really think about it, they're like, it makes sense. I think they did finally announce season 3, which I'm super excited about because I love this series. And I think once people realize what's going to come out of this series, I think they're going to be like, oh, now I get it. Now I get why this season 2 was like what it was. It's a build up to the next part. So, really good series. Love it. It's just a great time.
All right. Now moving on to my number 6 choice. So this one's interesting. My 6th entry on this list is Golden Time. So Golden Time is a romance anime.
Yep.
It's actually pretty old. It came out in 2012, but it didn't get dubbed till like years later because Sentai is weird like that sometimes. So Golden Time is interesting because it's a twist on the typical like slice of life romance anime where most of the time they're always high school.
Yep.
This one is college kids. So you get a much different dynamic this time around. There's also a bit of psychological stuff because the main character has some emotional baggage going on because he had got into an accident before the events of the plot and he doesn't remember anything about his life.
Yeah.
He's basically a blank slate, and it's pretty interesting because it's actually the main couple of the anime. They get together in like episode 4, like super quick. Like that's way out of the way super early.
Yeah.
And then it's all after that is all the different developments and like get touching more deeply on the fact that the main character isn't exactly who he says he is. Kind of.
Yep.
There's a lot of psychological issues going on. Like the character himself is who he thinks he is, but an entire portion of his life is no longer in existence.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fun. Interesting comedy. I just like the story. Very wholesome.
Yeah.
Very romantic.
Nice.
Worth a watch. It's on High Dive.
Watch it there.
Well, it's better than paying for the freaking box set, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Which I did. Praise Sentai.
Good. Anyways, my number 6 is Mob Psycho 100.
That's the same creator as One Punch Man.
Yes, it is the same creator as One Punch Man. I freaking love this show. Almost as much. Like, it was hard for me to put one over the other for these two, but I will say Mob Psycho just has like this
an actual plot direction.
Well, it has an actual plot, but I also like I love the animation and the character designs. Like, I just love how ugly some of the people are. But I don't know, I just love the characters, I love the story, and I love like Mob, and just everything about it is really good. And he's just kind of this kid who
he's just
has
Saitama as
power.
a kid. If he was psychic and a kid.
And he's more wholesome though. Like, he's a sweetheart. Like, and he's just like wins the hearts of everyone.
Except for the girl.
Except for the girl he likes. But even then, like, I think she does, you know. Because they show scenes where she's like, I'm rooting for you, Mob, and it's a good show. Definitely some really great fights. Really interesting, like, power system for Mob. How, like, the show's called Mob Psycho 100 because Mob kind of has this level, like, this emotional level, because he has no emotions due to his powers. And when he hits 100, that's where, like, he kind of has a psychic break of power, and it's a really cool show. Definitely recommend. And season 3 is gonna be, I believe that was announced and should be coming out. I think that's coming out soon.
We did it for the second anime swap, and I enjoyed what I watched, so it's on my list of something I'll get to eventually.
Definitely recommend you finish it. Really good.
All right, now we're getting into the top 5, and the top 5 was very fascinating. I think for both of us.
Yeah, I think the top 5 was the easiest.
It was. I straight up was like done in a second for the top 5, and after that it was like, But my 5th choice is original Dragon Ball. Arguably the best Dragon Ball, in my opinion.
Arguably.
Because it has the best story. It was the most like down. Like, we're so used to Goku being this OP like badass motherfucker.
Yeah.
And this was like his early days where he was not that strong at first, and he really had to like learn. Like, he had to like rediscover. He had to he was on his like. None of the Saiyan shit was here yet. It was more traditional story driven. Like, we meet all these characters early on, and we get to see them grow. Like, all these characters that we see nowadays that we still remember from this, we actually saw their early days and how they grew up into the characters we all know and love.
Yep.
And best storytelling, like, great character, one of the first funny dubs that really mattered. It's fun, really fun.
Nice.
Moving on to your number 5.
My number 5 is Hunter x Hunter. I really love this show. It's just really good. I mean, I think a lot of people know Hunter x Hunter. The manga's great. The anime is great. It was kind of like one of those revival animes where they redid it with more modern animation. But I love the characters. I love Gon. I love all of them. It's just a really great show, and I don't really think I think most people know it's a really good show.
It's interesting because it's like Yu Yu Hakusho. It's the same creator.
Yeah.
But it's like what he really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like after Yu Yu Hakusho was done, he
And
just was forced to do more Yu Yu Hakusho than he really
Yeah.
wanted to.
And I definitely see, you can see how passionate, like the passion behind the show and the love behind it, and the power
The amount
system.
of like people who were so happy when it was announced it was coming back.
Yeah, it's a great show, great manga, and I recommend it to anyone.
Distinct art style, distinct
Very
storytelling.
distinct. Yeah, it's very good. I would watch it. I've watched it. I think I've rewatched it about like 4 or 5
I plan
times.
on finishing it after I finish Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah.
That's my goal. But anyways, now moving on to number 4. So my 4th favorite anime choice on this list is Komi Can't Communicate.
Yep.
I fucking love this show.
Yeah.
So
I know.
it's just super relatable. It's relatively new. The manga is actually pretty old. This is actually a relatively late anime adaptation
Yep.
by all regards. It's another Netflix dub, so hopefully it comes out the future seasons. But I love it. It's super relatable for the time because it touches on the plot of, or the topic of social anxiety and like that inability to like that basically that struggle that a lot of people have these days with so interacting with other people and making friends.
Yeah.
Because the main character Komi is a very wonderful girl who has a horrible ability of social. She's probably got like the worst social anxiety I think I've seen in an anime character, where she like really wants to interact with people, but she's just locks up and she can't do it. And the problem is she's such a beautiful character that like all these people like worship her and they see her as on a different level than everyone else, and that's why it makes it even harder for her to make friends. Which is why when she meets Tadano, who is like the most average human being in the show, it starts off this relationship where we build from there. We get to see her start coming out of her shell and making friends. And the manga has gone so far, much farther now than the show, obviously. The show's only on its 2nd season so far. But I just love it. It's super wholesome. Like, you love Komi, you love Tadano, you love every character. And you really relate to them for the time.
Yeah.
Now moving on to your 4th choice.
My number 4 is Black Clover, which I know for some people they'll probably be like, why is Black Clover in your top 5? Like, it's not good, but like I like it and I think it's really good, and the manga is really good, and it's left me on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, please complete the manga, but it's gonna be brought back soon. But it's basically, I really love the show, and it's centered around, I know not everyone loves the main character, but I really like him, because like he was a kid who got like the short end of the stick. In this world of magic, he is magicless, doesn't have a drop of it. So while everyone else was doing everything with magic, he had to work hard for everything. He had to train, he had to get stronger, and he had to find his own path. And I think it's a really great story. I really love the main characters. Love Asta and how he grows and gets stronger. And it's definitely, I don't know, I feel like I'm a type of person, and I think you are too, where we're very like hard work is what gets you places. Like, we're not give me people. We've really worked hard for a lot of everything. And I think I just kind of identify with the character of like, I worked really hard to get where I did.
It's funny because I noticed in your preferences you have a lot of shows where you love OP main characters.
Yeah.
Then you also have shows where you like the characters that actually have to work their way up.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
Shield Hero.
I think I kind of relate to it. I think a lot of it like through dance, especially where like I didn't have like natural dance, like dance techniques. Not talent, but more just like technique. Like one thing is big with dance is like turnout, and my feet naturally point in, and like breaking that habit is really hard, and I had to work really hard, and I'm still not the greatest at it, but I got really far in dance. So I think I relate to the characters, and I love the Black Bulls. Like, they're all this gang of misfits that their captain brought together to create a great squad, and Asta kind of rounds out the squad. So I really like it. I love Black Clover. It's a really good show.
Alright, now moving on to number 3. So my 3rd favorite anime is My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu, which is based off of a light novel, which got a manga adaptation, but the anime itself is based off of the light novel.
Yep.
So, My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu is an interesting anime because it comes off as some rom-com romance thing, but when you actually break the show down, it is very relatable because there's a lot of like philosophical elements and like thought processes behind the show. Like the main character is very, he's basically a, you have this character, like you're in high school, he's in high school, and it's like a whole bunch of like super popular people, and the main character is basically like, the world is shit, everything's shit, just leave me alone, I'm gonna just hide in the background.
Yeah.
And he's to the point where he actually gets assigned to a club called the Service Club, and the only other member is another rather outcast in the school named Yukino Shita, who is an extremely beautiful and like higher class girl in the school, but she's such a, her personality is very like conflicting with like the rest of like with people. It makes it hard for her to make friends herself.
Yep.
Plus her like her social status has made it difficult, and her family has put a strain on her like mental health and her like social abilities essentially. So you kind of get these two very similar characters, and they're assigned to a club called the Service Club, where the whole point is people come to them with problems and they have to solve them.
Yep.
So you get a lot of interesting dynamics, and the way the plot goes is they build off each other, and you kind of get like there's a bit of a love triangle, but it's not actually a love triangle, and it's all kind of a social, it's all kind of a philosophy, whatever the word is. It's all philosophy basically when you look at the deeper meaning, and everything has its own meanings, and like things don't exactly appear as they are. And it's a fun show. I really enjoyed it for what it was. I love the main character, also voiced by Adam Gibbs. This is another character he's done. Great Sentai dub.
Nice.
Now moving on to your second favorite. I wonder what it is.
No, it's
no, your third favorite.
Yeah, I was gonna say no. So my number 3 is Haikyuu.
The volleyball anime.
The volleyball anime, which I love the show, and I love the manga. I've read the manga too, and I can't wait for them to animate the manga. It ends very great. The manga does. It didn't need any more. Like, it's perfect where it ends. But I love the show, and it's kind of really similar, I guess, in ways to Black Clover, where your main character is like, he's not tall, he's short, but he's fast, and he also never really got to play on a volleyball team, but he wants to be a volleyball player, and he kind of builds up his skills and becomes this really great player. And it's a really great show, because I kind of like when, I mean, not to say, this sounds weird, but I kind of like when the characters don't win everything immediately. Like, this
Which
team...
is weird, because you also do like those shows.
I do, but I don't. It's depends on what it is. But, like, these guys, they struggle. They don't instantly start winning. Like, they face losses, and they face, like, frustration and, like, heartbreak, and it's, like, it's very emotional, and I think it's, like, very accurate to how people feel, like, in sports and stuff, and I think I just connect to that as someone who, like, you know, did, like, a sport, like, a very intense sport that was hard. And, you know, it's just a really good show. You love the cast of characters. There's some great comedy elements to it as well. But then also, like, the volleyball is very realistic and really good. I definitely recommend to anyone. I don't necessarily always go to the sports ones, but this show just drawed me in, and I love it.
She likes this one to the point where she's super butthurt that the Blu-ray sets are super expensive.
I know. I want to get them, but they're like $100 each, and it's like, bleh, I can't afford that right now.
Praise Sentai.
Praise Sentai.
Praise Sentai. Alright, moving on. Now we get to my number 2. It's Fruit Baskets, the 2019 version.
Yeah.
I didn't like the 2001 version.
No.
I also didn't watch it back in the day, though. So.
Yeah.
But Fruit Baskets. One of the most deceptive looking shows you'll ever watch. Because my God, does the show's outward appearance not actually represent what it is?
Yep.
Because my God, the show is so depressing.
Yep.
And so heart-wrenching at times. But my God, it is super addicting. Like, once you start watching it, you have to finish because you just want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's... You love the main character. You love all the different characters that you reach. Even, like, the ones that aren't likable. You want to know more about their backstories. Like, you want to figure out what's going on. It's the determination story, like the whole I'm gonna save them kind of mentality. But my god, it's also super depressing.
Yeah.
Like, every character in the show is like, you love certain characters, but it's like, my god, why are their parents so garbage? Like, why are these people so terrible? Like,
yeah.
You just, and you feel bad. I love watching the show, but it's one of those shows you really got to be in the mood to watch.
Yep.
Because my god, it is so hard. It's like 60 some episodes too, so it's a bit of a longer one.
Yeah.
Great time though, like great meaning, great characters, great dub.
Great dub.
One of Funimation's best.
Yeah.
I could probably go on for hours on its own subject, but
yeah.
we should probably move on.
Yeah. So my number 2.
I wonder what it is.
Is pretty obvious. It's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm not gonna go into the plot because I've already just go back to one of our many.
Is it
anime.
JoJo's the franchise as a whole, or is it one in particular?
JoJo's the franchise as a whole.
Okay.
Because I really enjoy it as a whole. I love this series. I love the fighting styles. I love the stands. I love the characters. Like,
how
it's
extra
great.
everything is.
How extra everything is. I just love it. It's just such a good show. And I'd recommend it. I mean, well, I would not do this as your first introduction to anime. Definitely watch a few under your belt before you go into this. But if you're an avid anime watcher, check out JoJo's. It's a real great show. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
One of the most extra shows ever made.
Yep.
Alright. And moving on now to my number 1. It is very obvious from if you've seen anything we've ever done in the past and what I post on my blog all the time. My number 1 favorite anime of all time is Inuyasha.
Yep.
Oh, Inuyasha. So, it wasn't my first anime, but it's one of the first, like, really long ones that hooked me.
Yep.
Like, I had obviously, the first one I ever saw was Ronin Warriors, and I had seen, like, Dragon Ball and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Inuyasha was the first, like, anime that I because of how it came out on Comedy Central, well, Adult Swim back in the day.
Yep.
I'd have to catch it. I'd have to get up at so freaking early to watch it. Like, and I'd have to sneak downstairs while Mom and Dad were asleep still, watch my episode of Inuyasha, and then go back up to bed and hope I didn't get caught.
Yep.
I love the character. I love the whole. They start out at the bottom, and it's the whole like coming of age kind of story. Like, they go across the world in the adventure. I love the dynamic between like Inuyasha, Kagome, like them and their friends, the villains. The villain who is actually very serious, and like has a super like he's not an easy like defeat. Like, they actually have to work towards their finally beating him in the end. I love the interaction. I love the growing relationship between the characters. I love the roundabout plot. Great filler for an anime that's not in the manga. I just love this show. I love the dub.
Yeah. You've
already given your answer. And I guess going into Alex's number 1, I wonder what it's going to be.
If you guys don't know what it is, then you guys aren't real fans of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's One Piece, duh. Love this show. Love the story. Love the manga. Love the anime. Love the movies. Love it.
Love the character. She's got...
Love the main character.
She has, like, figures, everything, her backpack. Like, oh my god.
I love One Piece. It's just such a good show. And I think a lot of people don't, like, get into it because it is, like, 1,000 episodes
It's intimidating.
long.
It's very intimidating.
But I tell you, it is so worth it. Because I started it, like, with that mindset of, like, I'll just see where this goes. And...
Fun fact, we actually... When the podcast started, she was just getting into One Piece.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and now, like, literally, like...
It's her obsession.
It's my favorite show. I love this show. It's so good. It's just really the best. So, yeah, One Piece is number 1.
If you want to see her give a full on plot summary of One Piece, just go watch Anime Part 1 from way back. Yep. Also JoJo's. She goes
in the anime swap.
Yeah, anime. She's gone deep into One Piece many a time.
Yeah, I love One Piece.
You know, it's funny recapping this. If you look at our lists, I love our top 5s because they're like polar opposites. I love how yours is like all shonen, then one volleyball anime.
Yep.
Mine's mostly slice of life romance and then Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
It's funny though how looking back at them, like
Oh yeah.
they're very eclectic uh, differences, and we do have a few crossovers. I think the closest one we had on both our lists was Shield Hero.
Mm.
It's funny though. It's like, whoa, I wonder what the first one's gonna be on both these lists.
Yeah. I think some people already knew.
Yeah, it was
People who
pretty
really
clear.
watch a bunch, but definitely,
It's funny because there's a bunch of shows that I actually do want to watch on your list at some
Yeah.
point.
like One Piece. Watch it
At some point.
right now.
But yeah, anyways, this was fun. I kind of want to do more of these in the future
Mm.
for different topics.
Yeah.
I'd also like to, in the future, come back and reassess this list,
Yeah.
see if our opinions have changed.
No, yeah, especially because there's definitely, I mean, as I said, there's some that, like, we were watching and,
Yeah, like Spy Family could move up, or
yeah,
it could move
Jujutsu
down.
Kaisen, yeah.
It's hard to say. Like, I like it now, but I mean, hell, who knows? I mean, Shield Hero Season 2, I might change my opinion on it.
Yeah.
You never know. But anyways, guys, once again, thanks for joining us on this rather long edition of the Gaming and Collecting Podcast.
Yep.
The Gaming and Collecting Podcast can be found on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. We are made on Anchor Podcast, and you can follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Good Pods. Episodes are eventually YouTube. We've been over this. It'll whenever I can get to it.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, once again, thanks for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Yeah.
All right, have a good one, guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.